Welcome back, everybody. You are first, by the way. Just check. Welcome back, everybody. Firstly, I have a huge apology to make to Accor, especially since Lindsay Lisa is up today with a little panel. I did forget to mention they are a premium sponsor here today, so to both Kingsley Amos and Lindsay Lisa, I do apologise. Secondly, just before I introduce them, I've had one person so far, that's Paul Campbell from William Watson Company. He's asked to have the hotel tour to the Horizon Club and the Horizon Rooms that Shape did in this hotel recently. And so if anybody else wants to go through the hotel, say at about 5 o'clock after this, give me your card and I will set that up with hotel management. So now we've got a really interesting panel led by Lindsay Lisa. If you would just come up as I introduce you, please. Lindsay is currently the Vice President of Development of Pacific and Franchise Operations for Accor, based here in Sydney. I've known Lindsay for quite a while. He's the ultimate deal maker. You've got to watch, that you've still got your watch on, basically, when you leave the table. The consummate deal maker. He joined Accor in '98, became a business development analyst at Accor. He's had a variety of positions there, accepted the position of General Manager Development in 2008, and has been heading that up and still heads that up in our part of the world. He's seen unprecedented growth to become market leader in Australia and New Zealand with some 240 hotels and growing. Outside of Accor, Lindsay is a board member of the Garvan Research Foundation, a organisation that I've also supported, Lindsay. It's great work. And so welcome, Lindsay, please. Following Lindsay, we have Rob Wagemans. Rob, please, come on up. Rob was born in Eindhoven in 1973. I don't know why they put your birth date here, Rob. But, maybe you're the youngest guy in the room or something, I don't know. He's got a Bachelor of Architecture at Utrecht and a Master of Architecture at the Academy of Architecture in Amsterdam. His approach to work is, and I think this is in your program, in short, there are no problems, only solutions. Actually, I can go a bit further than that. The internet is a great place, isn't it? You can run, but you can't hide. If you look up Rob on the internet and sort of Google him, you get, he says in one little, I think it's a YouTube piece, I'm a rebel, I kick ass, it starts with a bed. I think that's a great way to start this conversation. Very good. He's the founder of Concrete. Rob is a truly global hotel design guru. He's equipped with experience and skills to transform any space into something extraordinary. And you'll see in the program all the assets that he's worked on and done. It's pretty impressive. And last but not least, Carol Finney. Carol is a dedicated interior designer with international experience, particularly in hospitality. With over 23 years' experience, she's been working intensively on a diverse range of concepts. She follows her passion and drive rather than succumb to conventional design rules. I don't know how you do that, Carol, because we're all interior design experts, And Carol is always ready to innovate. She takes inspiration from her many other interests in actual buildings to ensure functionality and creative design. She's designed five-star hotels, high-end restaurants, including the Pierre Hotel in New York. I didn't realise that till I looked you up, Carol. That's pretty. Can I get a deal there?
Oh, I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
It's expensive.
Yeah. And the Pan Pacific at KL International. She's got a great repertoire as well. Please welcome our panel.
Thanks very much, Howard. It's great to be here and to support Design In for, I think, our second year. It is certainly for us a highlight of the conference calendar. I think, thanks to Brett and the team at Shape for putting on another terrific lineup, and also for inviting me to do this panel, which I think you'll agree is the best of the day. And the time slot certainly helps with after a morning coffee and before lunch. So I hope we we're all fired up to hear two really exciting speakers that we have in this panel, Rob and Carol, who I'll introduce and ask to take us through their presentations. But I think in Australia where we are today is an exciting space. I think that everyone talks about disruptors, and everyone's very focused on the digital space and where how much that's disrupting so many industries and the extent to which that's disrupting the hotel space. But I think really where the hotel industry does need a shake-up is in the design space. And I think within Australia we are just at the cusp of starting to see some really exciting things happen here. There's a lot of hotel new development projects at the moment. We've got around 2,500 rooms under construction across Australia and New Zealand today, which is unprecedented for us, and there's a number of other players that have a number of new hotels opening. So I think we've got a real opportunity in the market over the next 2 to 3 years to really consider design far more carefully and actually value it. I think far too often as an industry we sort of look for price as the driver, but I think as you'll see from both Rob and Carol's presentation, there is true artistry here, and if you do want to actually understand where the trends are heading, I think you do need to invest in this area because you'll get the payback throughout the life of that product. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to invite Rob to take us through the presentation. We'll have a brief Q&A afterwards as well. So over to you, Rob.
Okay. Is it okay if I stand over there? So thank you for having me here. When Brad called me in Amsterdam, my office is based in Amsterdam, he said if I would come over, I was quite surprised because one of my taglines is concrete likes to let the work do the talking, so why do you need me? And he asked me if I would fly 20 hours for 20-minute talking, which I had to convince people in my office it was a good purpose to go to. But I'm here, so I will talk you through some of our projects. But to do this, I need to introduce you a little bit to who we are as an office and what, let's say, our DNA is a little bit. So maybe we can start. Oh, I can do myself. So concrete likes the work, let the work do the talking. So we are a team of 42 people in Amsterdam. We are probably the largest interior firm in Holland, but we still feel we are the smallest. We treat our company as a family. This is the whole bunch of people. We all wear glasses because we want to take the piss out of real architects with all the difficult glasses a little bit. Sorry. So we have 42. We have 42 people working there. We have one office. There are architects, interior architects, foodies. 2 people cannot cook, unfortunately. Visual marketeers, stylists, photographs. We have 1 idiot in the company. We have, he's here. He's flying 20 hours for 20 minutes. So we all do this in the House of Concrete. We don't have an office. We have a house in the red light district. We're in the middle of where everything is happening. We are working there in an old house, 16th century building. It looks a little bit like this. There are no letters in the house, only imagery. To really understand what we do, I can talk for an hour, and I only have 19 minutes left. I brought a small movie that tells a little bit how we think.
First light. In the days when we were pure and primitive, we cried, yelled, played, and did the things we thought. But there were people much older and wiser who taught us that we had to learn. They told us how to say things, how to behave and act the same. Now, years later, we live by the rules, respect the status quo, and think about things over and over again. There's still that little voice, pure and primitive, that says, fuck it all.
I will talk you through 2 of my hospitality projects, which are hopefully changing the hotel industry. That is the purpose of being concrete. We want to change the world a little bit, move it in a different direction, get rid of the star system, create something which is sustainable, but which creates an environment which I like to go to. And sorry, I don't like luxury hotels, and if you look around here, hopefully you understand. So one of the concepts we created without an owner, so we had no client, but we were frustrated with the existing portfolio of hotels we had to stay at, was a concept that is very, very, very close to our heart. And according to the owner, which we found, I'm the living DNA of the brand. So we call this One Star is Born because we hope we achieve 1 star once, and there will be a big celebration for this concept. This is actually the owner of AirAsia, who is dreaming of having his own airline, but he had never been in the airline business before. We try to be that guy. So what we want to do, we want to create a hotel which is there for me. I stay in all kinds of hotels. The best experience I ever had was when I was backpacking to Thailand. There was this guy with the guitar in the lobby. My bedroom was shit, but the experience of the hotel, meeting other people, was great. I stayed at a 5-star hotel in Berlin. I had 7 remote controls in my room and 2 toilets. It doesn't make sense. It is not hospitality anymore. You have to sign a bill if you order a beer, and then you get your beer in a 5-star hotel. It's not hospitality. So what we try to create is a hotel which is way younger at heart. It's serving the millennial. It is a 5-star hotel for 1-star price. So we call it affordable luxury. So it's not a 1-star, it's not a 5-star, it's not something in between. It's a standalone category. This was a sign we had hang close to our hotel in London. It was there for 1 day, and then the lawyers said it was wiser to take it out. But I have an image. So it's everything but a Hilton hotel. So what we did, we have a 5-star hotel in our mind and a very sharp knife, and we cut out everything you do not need in a 5-star hotel. You want to keep the bed, you want to keep the toilet, you want to keep the shower, you want to keep the Egyptian cotton, but you don't need all the space, you don't need all the remote controls. 1 remote to close the windows, to change the color, to watch television, to make a phone call would be enough. So we managed to achieve that and cut and cut and cut till we were able to fit this hotel room in a sea container. So we built 200 rooms a week off-site our industry outside of London, and we bring them to another location. I need some water. Oh, forward, backwards. So this is our industry outside of London. Everything is in the room. The 5-star bed, the 5-star shower, the 5-star cotton, the 5-star towels, but we can ship them anywhere in the world. And with this, we are able to create hotels, even in New York. And we made a small movie to convince New York people that we were coming as a brand. Oh, this is actually the room from the inside. So here you see the construction. They crane the containers to a location. And then the podium level we can build in 3 months, and then we stack the containers in 2 weeks. So we managed to build a hotel in New York. Currently, there are 7 hotels open around the world. It means you have a very small room. It's 16 square meters. Everything you need is in there. It's comfortable. And then the ground floor is a big open area where you can live, where you can play, where you can do your business, where there's free Wi-Fi, there's free porn. Everything is free in the hotel as long as you pay your room rate. Room rates are low because we only need 16 square meters to make a hotel room. Everything this hotel is different than an ordinary hotel. So where you have a normal 4-star, you have 1 bedroom where we have 3 bedrooms, but we have also 3 bathrooms. So investment-wise, building a Citizen M is a different vehicle than building a building. If you have containers, it's something different than concrete as a material to build with. So this is a 200-bedroom hotel in New York. On the ground floor, all these open areas with artists making big commissioned artworks in the lobby space. You can do whatever you like here. You can go anywhere you like. You can eat, drink, work, play, and you just pay with your key cards. No signatures needed. It's as simple as that. Very accessible, very poppy, very do what you would like to do. A rooftop bar on top, more elements. We created a bird hotel on the rooftop. Birds can stay for free in our hotel, so we invite them to come from Central Park to our hotel, have a good night's stay in their own house. So these kind of elements are irrelevant if you are a corporate hotel. These are relevant if you want to be on Facebook and if you want to be popular. So irrelevant things become more relevant. Chaos becomes the new order. You see that we have big cabinets filled with all kinds of stuff. I have to hurry a little bit. London, this is a business center, but Citizen M style, which looks more like a nice gentleman's club. You see the 7 hotels operating, and currently we're working on 15 other ones, from Taipei towards Seattle and everything in between. Because we founded this brand, we are still part of the brand. We are a family of people making this product. I'm actually the designer, and there is an owner, but we feel like we do this all together. And so we have a family bond in making this. The second thing I would love to show you is the end of the hotel room. Quickly, there was an image behind here as well, which was a Van Gogh painting. This is a German artist who just cleaned up the Van Gogh painting, put everything on one side, and then you have a little bit of space to breathe. This, for me, is a metaphor for a hotel, which every time a DVD player comes in, and a television, and a cabinet, and another remote control, and another remote control. We try to clean this up. So what we're trying to do here is create a concept which is not a hotel, which is not a house. So it is between housing and between residential and a hotel. It's a hotel where you can stay from 3 days till 3 months. In America, they call it extended stay. In Europe, they call it short stay. It is the same product, but it's not a 2-bay room with a kitchenette and with a bedroom. It's something that we need to make smarter. Today, we travel like this. This is the world as a metro map. It's very easy to fly from Amsterdam into Sydney for a 20-minute lecture. You can fly back. This is the old world where you live in a village and you drive into city and you work. Today, because we are all mobile, we try to find spaces where we can do all the things at the same time. So contemporary hotels and contemporary offices should behave like places where you can live, where you can work, where you can be who you want to be, where you can eat. So this created a concept which is only 25 square meters, but we created a house, an apartment on 25 square meters. You have a bedroom, you have a kitchen, you have a bathroom, you have a couch, you have even a dining table.
Welcome to Zoku, the end of the hotel room, the beginning of the infinite room, the workroom, the playroom, the come over to my place and make me smile room, the lay your head and launch your dreams room. Actually, this isn't even a room. It's one block of a thriving neighborhood, a hive of Zoku lofts and social spaces, designed for you to stay longer so you can go further. Meet, sleep, work, dream, love, live. Zoku.
So what it is a 25 square meter unit. We created a concept which works like Lego bricks. All the components fit in there as furniture work. And they create everything you need. So you have a hidden bedroom, there's a bathroom underneath, there's a kitchen, there's a television, there's even a hidden staircase and a huge wardrobe. And all the space that's left over of the 25 square meter, which is 12, is your house. It's where you live, where you sit on the couch, where you meet friends, where you invite friends. You can use it as an office because your bedroom is not in the middle. So this is probably the first hotel in the world where the focus is not on the bedroom, but on the dining table or the working table. So you can have dinner, you can have meetings, you can do whatever you like, again, in your room. This is new society. These are people who want to do what they like to do. Work is not a job. So next to this, because we're building this hotel currently in Amsterdam, 120 of these Zoku units. And on top we have a big rooftop lobby area, which we don't want to call lobby area. But this is a place where you gather. If you go camping with friends, mostly it looks like this, but they're not in the desert. So you all have your own tent. This is your private thing. But the action happens in the middle. That's where the most fun things happen. That's where you make the fire. This is where the guy with the guitar comes back in and sings his song. So this in-between space, between these tents, is something we wanted to create on the rooftop. So it's an open space that feels like a living room, but it has also a bar component. You can grab your drink yourself behind the bar. There's an amazing coffee machine. The people who work there walk with you through this space instead of behind the reception or behind the bar. You are all in this together. We create open kitchen where we have a lineup of chefs every day of the week. So a big mama from Suriname cooks roti on a Monday, and another guy from Nigeria creates African food on Tuesday, and then the Dutch food, the mashed potatoes, never happen. And then there's a place where you can work, where you can relax a little bit, where you can make a hole in your leather belt if you need to tighten up your belt a little bit, which hotel where this happens. So this is Zoku, other concept we're making. And the last bit I talk very briefly about is we do a lot of work for luxury brands to try to redefine luxury. So luxury today is not about polished floors, chandeliers like this. It's not about space. It's only about time, and that you are able to do with the time what you want to do. That's luxury. If every big 5-star brand puts that in their DNA, luxury is time, every hotel would look different. So we don't need high lobbies anymore. We don't need polished natural stone anymore. We need different things which makes people come and feel a luxurious experience. So we did this in the W in London, a 5-star hotel on Leicester Square, where the rooms are only 28 square meter, which is for a 5-star hotel way too small. They work, we never complaints, by doing smart tricks to the room design, create space where you have space, like take out corridors in hotel rooms. We did this in Verbier, it's the first ski resort in the mountains of Switzerland. Also interesting that every hotel is used to build a hotel which is occupied 1.8 nights a week. Most 5-star business hotels. This is one in the mountains, so here you check in for 6 nights. So how does a Starwood respond to the fact that they have a resort in the mountains? With nightclubs, with the standard rooms behaves like a suite. You can from the bed watch into the shower through a fireplace. This is an Accor hotel. I had to put the Accor hotel in. No, this is the one we did in Amsterdam. It's called Ink. It's from M Gallery, which is a collection of different style of hotels. So in the middle of the city, it behaves like a small village. This image on the left is beautiful, but it's actually, we're doing residential work in America. We're building 6,000 residential units, but it started with a bed, and it started with 1 unit, and within 2 weeks after we showed how one apartment could look like, the owner told us, you designed this for a tower of 900 units. So we reached the highest point last week, 70th floor skyscraper in New York. And this is probably my happiest project. We created a brand for new Asian food called Happy Happy Joy Joy. We also do the names, and we also do the graphic design of these places. But this almost is my schizophrenic brain, how I perceive Asia in different cities in different ways, and we all brought them together in one design. So we didn't choose, we go only in that direction. We try to went in all directions at the same time. So very fun, also one of the smallest projects we're doing. And this is everything I could not talk about today. Thank you. Time?
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. We'll save a Q&A for Rob in a moment, but I might just turn over to Carol and ask her to present on what's happening with DWP based out of Dubai. And while Carol's going to the stage, fantastic that it's actually the first time both Rob and Carol have been to Sydney in Australia, so really appreciate them taking the time to spend time with us here. So thank you, Carol.
Okay. Oops, back. Oh, seem to have missing a bit here. I seem to be missing some of my presentation. I need the front sheet. Okay, seem to be missing part of my presentation. So I'll just move on, I think. Okay. So I was going to start off with, I think I've got part of my presentation here, so there's a bit missing on it just now, so I'll skip on a little bit for you. Today I wanted just to chat to you about more a thought-provoking exercise on what's happening in the future, So I did actually call the presentation Futurama. That was something I thought we should all be thinking about. I think today I just want to run through where I see the hotel design and brand design in the future. So I'll skip on to this slide in a moment, but to begin with, I'll just introduce myself with DWP. Our main forte is in hospitality and hotel design in the luxury market, funnily enough. So I'm not anti-luxury, and I think it's how we approach that luxury design in the future, as Rob was saying as well. Now, the way I thought about looking at the future was because I just recently moved to Dubai, and when I arrived in Dubai, I've been there 5 months now, I was quite interested to see how there's a real strong trend with regards hotel brand and residential development as a group. And currently, the design of living in a hotel as well as a residential part is a combination, is something that I've actually started to do now. So I feel like I'm a self-confessed, I live in a hotel now. Since I moved to Dubai, I live in a hotel residential property. I've got a brand that's being produced there, that's being stamped for the quality of what you do as a company. So hotel and residential, the basic brand is the thing that's basically driving you to move into that space. You're going to get the guaranteed quality service of that hotel brand. And also from an investment point of view, you'll find that most people are investing in hotel branded properties because the value of those properties tend to go up by about 15% and hold their value. So, here we are. Now I've got back to the right presentation. Okay, so to start off, just looking at the overall future ahead, we've got to look at where we're going to be in the future, where we've got all our brands and hotel groups still in existence, but what's going to be ahead? How are we going to design and how are we going to move forward within that process? So this is just a little taste of the life of the Futurama world. Now, going back to ourselves as a company, DWP, the traditional way of doing design, we've always followed through, is to create a simple, iconic design. So when we look at a piece we've been given to design, we've got a shell, and then we look at the overall process of what we need to do to create something that's hopefully iconic and timeless. And by doing something that is a timeless design, a good, strong design needs to have a good concept. This particular building that we did in Bangkok, it was a rooftop space, and we felt from our point of view to create a timeless, iconic piece of design that surpasses and transcends whether it's the future or the past. It's something that's going to be a strong design that will last through time. Now, this one in particular, we just kept it very simple. We had a very strong sense of arrival. We had one focal point, and the key thing was it was an experience event, so something that, and it was a destination. People want to go to a certain place and experience a certain environment. So this is something that we created, and we believe the way we do design currently is to create that sort of iconic, timeless design, rather than it's something that dates or goes past through trends. So moving on to that, just going back to my recap that I moved to Dubai. So when I did move and settle down there, as I said, I was living in hotel premises, which was actually a residential. So today I just want to chat a little bit about how I see that progressing and evolving with regards of hotel and brand design. Now, a couple of the hotels and residencies that are in Dubai currently, there's examples like the Kempinski. We've actually just started to do on-site right now with DWP, is the W Hotel and Residences. So we've been involved with that. And that's part of the interior view of the penthouses for the residential. Now, the trend moving through for the future, when you look at it, is that you've got these properties that are all brand-led by the actual hotel brand. You then move into other ones which are more product-led, like the Armani in Dubai, or you've got your moving into other ones like Bulgari in London. So there's a trend moving from the actual hotel group brand to get the symbol of quality and design moving right into the product. So you're buying into this product and this brand that you want to associate yourself with. Now, this is something that's slowly evolving, and it's changing very rapidly on how people view this. Another thing that we're looking at in Dubai just now is actually villa designs. Now, what's happening now, again, instead of it being the developers now looking at a quality brand, something like a company that's associated with the design and the brand now. So Bugatti, for example, are doing styled by Bugatti for these villas that we've got in Dubai currently for Damac properties. So they're actually going to the car companies. They're associated with the luxury element and luxury market, and they're taking the opportunity for them to introduce design elements into the villas. So you can see some soft elements that you've got the influence from the car grille, from the Bugatti car here, and then they're bringing in elements through the whole space where you're associating some of the styling that's found in car design, and it's being brought into villas and actual hotel and building design as well. So from there, again, another common thing we're seeing now is in Singapore. There's links again with some of the key stylists and designers like Pininfarina, associated with a lot of a luxury car market, now being introduced to work with architects. So you can see how the brand design is evolving from the hotel into then the product design and then moving into styled by. So it's going away from the actual designer doing part of the styling. Some examples. And that's the interior shot. Now, which leads then into things like product design. Now, the reason I'm showing this is how it's evolving this brand element. You're looking at the quality of the association of car design with the way they do the actual trim and colour interior for car design brought into the branded furniture here from Aston Martin. Same happens with some of the approaches, the way they're designing beds now. So it's this collaboration and combination between bringing stylists from outside the interior design and construction industry into the actual hotel design. So it's a collaborative approach to designing. Now again, taking the design elements you would take from car design, they're bringing in those elements through here. So we're introducing this crossover. And I think this is something we're going to start to see more and more, is this crossover and collaboration of different backgrounds that are then coming into design to give a collaborative and more individual design look. There's some more product design from Aston Martin. So from that, we just look at, after the brand has had its lifespan, and I also think that brand design is actually going to start to disappear. There's a lot of people now individually wanting their own choices, and they don't want to be too brand-led. So I think in the future, what we found was when we were doing brand design, a lot of companies or lots of clients actually start to look at breaking away from the brand design now, that you're actually looking for something that's saying, I'm not going to be led by that brand. So now you're approaching it where you look at a debadging exercise starts to happen. Before, when I used to work in London, there was a period of time where I was doing a lot of F&B projects and bar design. And I did a whole chain of bars called All Bar One in the UK. And at that time, the design was very popular. But the key thing on that design was that it was being debadged from the actual owner. The association of who the owner was had to be detracted from the design. So the actual people were wanting to feel individual, making their own choices, and actually not being brand-driven. So for that particular design and that process, the whole group of bars was actually run and owned by a large brewery company. At the time, it was Bass. But they didn't want the association of their name because they felt the user, the people wanting to experience their own individual styles and choice of bar, they didn't want to be associated with the brand. So you're then asked to do a lot of design where you debadge from the brand, but you're still giving everybody that individual approach to the design that they want, but you're actually still working for the brand itself, for the company. So I'll just have some water. So just moving on from brand design, after you've evolved from that, the future is probably moving into things like, as Rob mentioned, going into the experiences. The experience is something that we all want to actually strive for, rather than actually the brand development. Excuse me. So to go back to how you move forward with experiences and what people are looking for, you have to go back in time to go forward. And I think during the 1930s, there was that pioneering time where we were all looking to design, go forward with the luxury travel element. So that was something that I think is a way of looking at how you move forward today's times. So I think to look at that, the aspirations for people now is to pioneer, move forward, see what's going to be ahead of us in the overall picture. We'll be able to explore and travel more and think outside the box. We're actually going into sort of larger areas where it doesn't have to be a basic hotel in the ground. You'll be looking at things where we have to approach things that will be in the sky. You'll be looking at transportable hotel design, where you'll actually be traveling through the space. So I think there's a future in actually moving forward with some of the exciting designs. A hotel doesn't have to be on the ground and stuck in one place. So I think we start to look at the mobility of hotels as well. Again, by sea, this is currently happening at the moment, where we're creating hotels, our hotel villa pods, that can actually be put into the sea, where you've actually got them partly submerged within the actual unit, so that, again, somebody's experience is through where they actually choose to go and have their hotel experience. So it's something that's a unit, again, that can be built off-site, brought into the space, dropped in to the location of where you want to experience your holiday or hotel experience, and then it's all within one space, within the sea. The future will be possibly creating some spaces that are half submerged, so you've got a location that you go to, which is taking in these elements of where people want to actually have their individual experiences. So instead of following the brands, you're looking at locations, experiences, things that people want to have. And there's an overall viewpoint of where you could have your ideal hotel in the sea. This is currently something that's being developed in Dubai just now, where we've got an underwater hotel. So some of the reasons of why you choose to have a holiday, or where you actually go for your hotel experiences, you start to have to tap into the personalities, the individual characters of each person, and you have to look at all the different routes of where you actually want to have your time when you actually have your time off. So we're looking at areas for escapism, individual locations where you feel as if you've got that individuality to express. So if you've got an area, you might be more interested in nature and moving to some places that are away from off the grid. Sense of adventure, again, different locations. Units, again, that can be built off-site, brought into space and dropped into the experience where you want to have that experience. Individual areas that are off the grid, away in different parts of the world. We're in a huge world, but as Rob says, it's getting smaller and smaller now, and we want these different types of individual experiences and choices. There was a comment made earlier this morning where we feel that everybody's changing their minds and trying new things, and I think the more choice that's there for the individual, this is where we're looking at now, is creating different experiences across the world in different locations. Now, this is just something just reminding me of my holidays when I was a kid, when you were staying in the caravan park. Now, another thing that's happening today is people are looking for units that are possibly mobile. So it's not just about having your hotel in one place, it's the fact that you may actually want to use that hotel space and move around in it. So it's creating mobile units where you can actually travel and park up where you want to be, create communities. As Rob mentioned earlier, you can have a place where you've actually got that one community spirit where you're all together and you're all living in these mobile units. This is an example of a hospitality hotel unit that was designed for Formula One that I worked on as early as 2009. This was something where, again, it was just a unit that was based on 9 trucks developing an overall cabin structure that could be on the back of a truck, brought to site, built in about 9 hours. That's the 2 units pulled together, creating one space which is for hospitality, the other one is for sleeping and for the drivers. And this could be used in many cases for different venues, for different functions. So the whole unit took 9 hours, as I said, to assemble. The other thing you can look at now is actually assembling hotels and then deassembling them and putting them to new locations. I'll just show you a little footage of how we put this together. So as you can see, this is based on 9 truck drivers coming in with their trucks, dropping off the actual containers, which are restricted to 12.5 metres long by 2.5 metres wide. And this is how you could literally build a hotel room or a hotel space, precisionally designed and built in the factory, and then literally assembled within 9 hours, and then ready for a weekend use or a period of time for a special event, and then deassembled. Now, the opportunity here is for hotel groups to actually start looking at doing something like this as an idea, where you could possibly consider having these at events where you've got, say there was a rock concert event and you needed the high-end luxury accommodation for that event for that week, that overall week or weekend. Somebody like Hard Rock or W could have these put together, dropped onto site, disassembled, and then moved on to the next event. Okay. And that's the unit in the evening as well. Okay, now just carrying on the theme of mobility, this is something I also looked at before, was actually doing some pop-out units. So it's a case that you can travel to where you want to in your space, or it can be set up so you can fly to your location, and then you've got these units all set up, ready, high-end luxury finish. Again, working with the tour operators, the hotel groups, the branding can still last through with the hotel groups of where they want to be. So this is one unit, and here's designing in small spaces, all part of the pop-out units for these hotel spaces that can move to wherever you need them to be. Finished, sorry. And just moving into whole level living the future. This is just a little thought on what will happen in the future. I'll just go through these quite quickly. Yes, you could have your Virgin Hotel on the moon, or you could have the Marriott pods on Mars, all things to consider. That's all the future. Just to end up on the futurists, this is something I chatted about earlier about collaboration. It doesn't have to be the designer working with the hotel operator and the developer. I think it's now about collaboration. Somebody like Sid Mead, who is an automotive designer, has done a lot of work for things like Blade Runner. There's people like Harold Belker, who's done design for things like Minority Report and Iron Man. So I think all these are about visionary futurists combined with designers. So maybe it's now the future is possibly where it's not you going to the design consultancy, but you're going to a collaborative group of people who come up with fresh, unique ideas. So when you've got from the hotel up in the sky or the hotel under the sea, this is what possibly is the future of design. Collaboration between different types of background to create fresh ideas. So all that's left is, the only guarantee is we know the future's here and it's just round the corner. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carol. So I think we've got time for one question. So I wanted to put a thought to you both, which is just to talk on a little bit on the millennials and sort of where the individual versus a collective of individuals, a community of individuals, where do you think that will take design, and to what extent do you think that the projects you're working on are adapting to the drive for a collective of individuals or a community of individuals, and to what extent does that take a more important part than perhaps place, which traditionally was such a driver of design? It was, if I'm in Sydney, I need to bring out what's in Sydney, whereas the designs you've shown us seem to be global in their view. So I'm just curious to get your views on those points, if I could.
Well, I think we as a design firm only work for millennials, but I think that the word millennial is already overdone I think in the word millennial should be, you cannot categorize those people. And what is happening now, the old world is trying to categorize them, so you must be between 25 and 35, and you must be... I don't believe in that. So I believe that the future is that people have more freedom to choose what they want to do. There's more money. Flying around the world is cheaper, so we will be more mobile. All our devices will make us more mobile. So they will change a lot in everything of our building environments, not only hotels, but also in how we live. We will become kind of global nomads who travel with a computer, which is our office, and we can work on every location of the world and maybe on the moon in the future. So I think it will change significantly our surroundings, which is fun and exciting because we don't know where this leads to, but let's start somewhere.
It is, it's exciting times, you're so right. I mean, I just touched on there, just as I was closing out, was the fact that, why not bring in a car designer to work with an interior designer to get a project out, which could be, just brings a fresh approach into the way that we look at the design. You get a restaurateur, a foodie person involved with something when we're looking at any F&B areas. So why not bring in advertising, film industry? You could have somebody from Pixar helping you design a new hotel. It doesn't have to be so restricted. And I think the more that we collaborate and mix up this whole big soup, it gives fresh ideas, and then it brings in new competitive ideas for your next hotel. So I think what the developer and the hotel has to be thinking about as an operator on how imaginative, the best you can get out of your design companies. And we need to start breaking that mold from the traditional brand standards. We touched on that earlier this morning. Standards are there because we're creating certain, questionnaires and comments, but as Rob said, that it's changing all the time, and it's getting really quite complicated now. And I think people have got such an individual personal needs and desires, and it's so changeable, and people are looking for experiences that are different constantly, and that's what we're up against now as designers. So.
I think new people will not, the new generation will not pick a hotel for sleeping anymore. But you're in sleeping business, and you run hotels where people want to sleep. We will not pick, my generation will not pick a hotel for sleeping. They pick a hotel because it gives them something more than just the work they do, and it gives them something more back from the city where they're in. And then the bed is just luckily there for sleeping.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. Howard is telling me to wrap up, so I will. I want to let you know that we do have time for Q&A with Rob and Carol this afternoon, so I'm sure you have a number of questions there. Please hold those for this afternoon session. Will you join me in thanking Rob and Carol for making the 20-hour tour? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lindsay, Rob, and Carol. Yes, as Lindsay said, at 4:30 in that session, all the questions, you can send questions to Brett or me, or drop a note to Marnie or Kate. Back there's a shape table back in the corner there if you want to drop off some questions, or to me or Brett, either. So now we're going to look at two really quite unique hotels as well. One's in Canberra, one's in Perth. I sat next to Alex actually at an awards dinner not so long ago where he got some recognition on the Alex, not Alex, sorry, Miles. I sat next to Miles, where he got recognition on the Alex. And I've actually been to see the Little National in Canberra. So these are pretty unique. Miles, if I could just start with you, please. You're welcome to come on up. Graduate of Les Roches School of Hotel Management in Switzerland. He understands the foundations of great hospitality and formed a career on that. He's very experienced in operational management, and as I said, he recently delivered this, the Alex Hotel in Perth, which by all accounts is going very well. He oversaw every aspect of that development, and has made a mark certainly in Perth with the community, as that's been spoken about before. So please welcome Alex.
I'll just double check before I begin if we're... Do you want... Stand by, I'll join you shortly.
Okay. Sorry, Miles. Harlan Redgen, where are you? Come on down. So Harlan, you're associated with Little National, correct? Redgen Matheson, a Sydney-based design studio. You're behind the design of the Little National? That's right. Very nice, yeah. I had a look at it. It's a great product. Central to their philosophy is a strong sense of scale, form and material. His design firm gained a reputation as leading practice in Australia and internationally. They were awarded the 2013 Asia Pacific Property Awards Best Architectural Single Residence in Australia. He's also a member of the Australian Institute of Architects. Please welcome Harlan. Come on up.
Thank you. Can you hear me? So I'm primarily speaking today on behalf of my client, which is the Doma Group. Our core business as an office is actually not in hotel design. We probably fell into it, and it's probably not what we do mostly. But I guess the reason why we fell into it is that our approach really comes from a high-end residential design philosophy. And we actually did the owner of the company's house a while back. And then Doma Group is, I would say, relatively new to the hotel space. It's a privately owned company. And we're now on our 5th hotel for them. And they've kind of expanded pretty rapidly in the last 5 years. They, so the first hotel that we did for them was the Burberry. I'll go into more detail on Little National in a minute. I'll just try to give you some context of who it is that's behind it all. All of their hotels are in a small sort of precinct in Canberra, and they've pretty much got one of everything. So they've got a 5-star, a business hotel, service departments. Now with Little National, it's more of a luxury but on a budget for a more affordable market. And then we're currently working on another one, which is a sort of a heritage hotel. So basically, each project that we do for them is really underpinned by what the target market is. And Canberra being Canberra, there tends to be a lot of business and political sort of travellers. So the work that we have done for them is not, which is not our design position anyway. None of it's very razzle-dazzle. It's very sort of timeless, calm, simple, which is a lot like what our private work is like. So as a business, they're not that interested in gimmicks and things like that, which is why it seems to be quite a good match working together. So in addition to that, we've also done food and beverage things for them. At the moment, we've got, I think, 3 restaurants that are all within the same area, one of which is opening, I think, in the next couple of days. So this was Hotel Realm, which is, we're in the process of renovating. It's a staged project, and this is one of the suites. again, we tried to avoid anything that's kind of patterned, trendy, anything that could be seen as a fad, and we try to just do things that we hope will last the test of time, I suppose. So onto Little National. This was quite an interesting project, I suppose, for us, and not that it doesn't happen, but we were the architects and the interior designers on this job, which was great for us because we really like on our other work we tend to do everything, but oftentimes you do end up having to do an interior in someone else's building, but it's actually quite good to be able to do the whole lot from scratch. The idea behind this was that it's obviously a hotel on top of a car park, and the car park was not allowed to look like a car park because it's in close proximity to Parliament House. There was a number of challenges, I suppose, in that the rooms are the width of a car park grid. So the entire design, you can see there's a grid that runs up the whole thing. And each of those little squares is one of the rooms. So when the client first described the project to me, I thought it was a little bit crazy because I think Australians are used to having like a lot of space around them. But when he said that there is a gap, like young people have become so much more design savvy. They don't have the money to stay in a 5-star hotel, or maybe even not in a 4-star hotel, but they don't want to stay in a crappy hotel. They want to be in a good location, but affordable. And I think design has become so, I guess, widely appreciated that a younger market that doesn't have, $500 for the night, they are probably more design savvy and want to be in the centre of town, but they want to feel like they're staying somewhere good. But this, I guess, design-wise, is not a hip hotel in that it's, again, you'll see the design is very, I'd say a broad appeal. So it's not just for young people, it's for business travellers, it's for, like if you were visiting Canberra, maybe you have your own graphic design business or something and you're there for the night, but you don't want to spend a fortune, but you still want to stay somewhere nice. So it's to have like a broad appeal, but the ultimate idea being that the rooms are small, but the public spaces are big. So the car park was naturally ventilated, which is why we had all these perforated screens on all different angles because we had to get airflow into the car parking area. So you drive down this driveway, and what we did was, in amongst the cars, there's actually a white glass box. So you go through this revolving door. So basically, once you get into that white box, you can't see the cars, and they can't see you. And then that's your lobby, and you go straight up to the top 2 floors. And then at night, when you arrive, then obviously the box is sort of glowing in this very industrial-looking, rough car park with this quite precise, crisp white element. So you get taken up to the top, and basically, this is during construction. The hotel's actually officially opening tonight, so the images of the room is actually a prototype room, so you can't see what it's actually like. There was a lot of challenges as well because the field beside the hotel is home to an endangered moth, and there was a lot of, and unbeknownst to us when we were first looking at the site, my business partner almost stepped on one of them when he was photographing the thing, but we didn't know that, but we soon worked out there was a lot of limitations, heights for birds to perch on that come in and eat the moths, and all sorts of different requirements. But basically, the idea that we took for the room was 1 bay, 1 car park, and the bed was like a big 4-poster bed sitting in the window. And everything, while the room is small, is overscaled. And you get great views from up there. So in the hotel lobby, this is the white glass box. And yeah, again, it's, I don't want to say cheap, affordable luxury is the official term, but
the rooms are not super expensive, but the idea was to create something that felt nice, but not too nice, as in it's not alienating, it's not ritzy. That's the door, the revolving door that you come from the car park. So on the upper levels, on the top 2 floors, there's these large communal spaces, one of which is more like a lounge room, and there's a bar there on, I think, on the weekends. And then on the lower level is more like a workspace. So if you're doing, if you're there for business, you there's desks and you can find your own private space. It's a little bit like a an airport lounge where you get your own little area and you don't have to talk to people if you don't want to. Up here, it's a little bit more social. So the room, this was, as I said, is the prototype room. When you're in the real room, obviously you get views out to the city. And these beds are just timber 4-posters, which were prefabricated off-site and assembled, obviously, on-site. The room itself is 2.3 metres wide by 8 metres long. And like I said, the public spaces are a lot more generous. So this is one of the areas where you would, if you want to work, you can take one of these little cubicle things and set yourself up. I heard that somebody booked in for like 2 months or something in the first week, who's obviously in Canberra for something long term and is working there, which was a bit weird. But I think by all accounts, so far, the hotel is trading at a pretty decent capacity in that people obviously haven't been freaked out by the size of the room. I think that's it.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Let me just sit there.
Harlan will also take some questions if you like, or maybe they can see you up. We are actually running out a bit of time, so we'll catch up later. Miles, are you still in the room, or have I totally shooed you away? Thank you. Come on up.
Thanks. Thanks, Howard. Right, take 2. Howard asked me this morning, actually, when I just bumped into him and sat down and said, "Oh, I'm talking," and he said, "Oh, are you going to do a video?" And I said, "No, just some slides," and I'm quite glad I didn't do a video after Joseph's quite impressive video presentation of the Echo, and then more recently of Rob's quite humorous little videos that he showed me. So just a couple of slides from me, and I'll talk a little bit about our new hotel in Perth. 74-room hotel. We have 1 restaurant, and while we don't call it a sky deck like the Echo, we do have a little roof terrace, which is quite exciting. So let me just pop it here. We had, I guess, 3 distinct advantages when conceptualising and creating Alex Hotel. One being that it was a new build, so we got to create a hotel from scratch, from the ground up, not dealing with an existing site. Number 2, we're owners and operators, so we didn't have to deal with an investor versus an operator scenario. We were the ones building it, conceptualising it, and ultimately running it ourselves. And then thirdly, we're new to the hotel business, so we didn't come with preconceived ideas or notions of what a hotel should be, which allowed us, I guess, maybe naively, to create a hotel with some fresh ideas and fresh thinking that could change the way a hotel operated, particularly in Perth, which to date is dominated by the major players, I suppose, in creating a little bit what Rob sort of brought in as the same old, and I think Perth really did need, and there was a market coming to Perth that was looking for something different in an age where we all travel internationally regularly, and we do experience places like Citizen M and other hotels that are really turning what the traditions of hotels are on the head. We're allowed to do that without brand notions, brand Bibles, etc. So in conceptualising the hotel, we started with a brief, I suppose, that was to create a hotel like a home. You can pick up any number of design magazines today that sort of talk about homes being influenced by hotels, and everyone wants to have a beautiful 5-star home experience in their own house. We wanted to look at back the other way and actually create a hotel that reflected a home. And as each of us have our own home, be it an apartment or a house, it's the living spaces and the bedrooms in that hotel and what you put in it that creates the personality. So with creating Alex in being a hotel as a home, it was the personality that we wanted to bring into the space that could create the feel of the establishment and that memory that you would take home ultimately after staying with us. A hotel as a home was our prime brief, and in looking at those elements of a home, bringing in the personality, it was the living space and also the bedroom. So at home, unless you're a troubled teen, you really don't spend too much time in your bedroom, and it's in the living spaces, the lounge areas, that you do your living, and that's what we wanted to bring into the hotel. So certainly a couple of other presentations earlier have been talking about bringing in communal spaces, and that was a really important part into the hotel for us. But not only that, before I get into those elements, it's also the importance of a location. In creating Alex, it was just as important what was on the outside of the property for us rather than what we were doing on the inside. A hotel for me is part of a neighbourhood, part of a district, and needs to celebrate that. And I think one element where hotel traditions have always sort of concentrated what's inside. It's the F&B offerings on the inside, it's the encapsulating of a guest and cocooning them from the outside world. We actually wanted to flip that out on its head and look at where we were and look at the context of the site and look at what was around us and celebrate that and be part of that community. We built Alex Hotel in a site that was released from the government right in a really interesting position in Perth, which we, I guess, put in the centre of a 4-axis grid. We're 2 minutes walk to the centre of the CBD. We're right on Perth's train station, and we straddle two cultural areas, one being Perth Cultural Centre, which houses, I think quite uniquely for cities around the world, all the major institutions culturally for Perth, the State Theatre, State Library, State Art Gallery, Museum, the contemporary theatres, are all in one location in Perth, and they're our neighbours. And to the other side, we have Perth's rejuvenated Northbridge district, which over the years has sort of gone through highs and lows, but is now seeing a new emergence of creative industries, independent retail, and a hive of new bars, small bars, and creative restaurants that form part of this new neighbourhood. And then not only that, but just a couple of minutes north of our location is the inner city neighbourhoods of Highgate, North Perth, Mount Lawley, which again have that beautiful inner city, dense population living. With that, the type of demographic that are in that area creates great cafes, beautiful parks, and a high activity out on the street. So it's the context of that location and the neighbourhood that we belong helped us influence the design of the hotel. Being in Perth, of course, as well, we're not London, we're not Melbourne, it's not dark outside, it's not rainy too often. We celebrate light, space, and we wanted to bring those elements into the hotel, the activity onto the street, and celebrate that light and freshness in doing the hotel. We commissioned local architects called Space Agency, led by Michael Petroni. But what we did want to do was deliberately break that architect and design flow, and we appointed domestic interior designers to come in on our project, based here in Sydney, actually, Arndt and Pike. And they have a beautiful, fresh home domestic style that we wanted to bring in and deliberately break the architecture of our building and bring a feminine, soft feel into our communal spaces, and then also into the bedrooms as well. So the hotel itself is located right in a rejuvenated area with a lot of action on the street, and we wanted to bring that inside, but also create that space for guests to feel comfortable and safe in an environment as well. And it's the public spaces that I think really define and go a long way to create a hotel. In definition, we're a boutique hotel. It's a term that I particularly don't like that much. I think boutique brings connotations in different ways to different people. As a group of an ownership group and operator group, we were all involved in the beer industry prior to this, in craft beer. And similarly, when we started out in 2000s in the brand that we were all involved in, craft beer wasn't a term that was used, it was a boutique term. And boutique in itself, again, led different styles of imagination and connotations to different people. And I really like the idea of craft or affordable luxury that both Rob and a few others have said today, where you strip out the hotel of unnecessary luxuries by bringing down a price to offer balance that can create items that you really need when you stay in an inner city townhouse style hotel without the unnecessary top hat, doorman, people taking your bags, extra facilities that ultimately just add to the overhead of a hotel and then ultimately drive up the price. What we concentrated on was providing fantastic communal spaces, a bedroom that then gave beautiful linen, beautiful bedding, great showers, but took out the unnecessary elements. So we rethought the creation of a hotel. The design of our rooms we stripped back. Our rooms start at about 15 square metres and go up to 27 square metres in size. So very compact. We stripped out the unnecessary requirements. The challenge always is, and I think the biggest element in changing of a hotel room is the television set. By the television set getting smaller now, we can plonk it on the wall and we don't have to have this big piece of furniture that takes up bulk into the room that was basically designed around the width of a TV. By putting the TV on the wall now, we can create a lot more movability space in a bedroom. We did away with the traditional cupboard space. Irons and ironing boards we put into a communal cupboard on each guest level, where guests could go down if they need an iron, take it back to the room and use it in their room, and our housekeeping staff will return it. An ironing board, of course, is an ugly piece that needs a certain element to hide it, which ultimately challenges the way you design a room. By removing that, we could then remove the cupboard space. We added hanging hooks on the wall, a unit where you could still hold your bag, provided a seat with a drawer, and ultimately a space for living in the bedrooms. No desk. We felt that the communal spaces in a hotel where people come down, gather, work. We provide a free complimentary breakfast as well, so it becomes this place where, like a living space or a kitchen in a home, it's where everyone gets together, tells tales, works and engages during the day. The branding of a hotel, I think, ultimately is the wrapping of the hotel. We don't have art on our walls in the hotel. We have communal spaces where we fill with magazines. We've got a record player, newspapers, books, and that helps to define the personality of the hotel. Just as each of us have our own style in our own house, it was the personality of the hotel that we wanted to create. And in creating the name of Alex, it was by way of allowing the personality to become bigger than the name. Alex, as a name itself, is both male and female. It spans a multitude of cultures, and it was a name that didn't really come with too many connotations. So it was the creation of the space, the feeling within our hotel, our decor that allowed the personality to help grow, and in support of that is our branding and collateral, where you can have a little bit of fun. We tried to do things that not every other hotel did. Why have a big compendium? Really, ultimately, all you need to know is where the fire exits are. Top 10 little items, so get help with Alex, a little black book that just gave you the necessary need to know details. And we direct everybody to our website where we have our full A to Z guide. If you need, you jump on there. We have a neighbourhood guide that celebrates the bars and restaurants within our space and in our neighbourhood. And ultimately, it's the staff that then support that brand and personality. And we deliberately hire F&B experienced staff. We have a coffee machine in our lobby that we never turn off. All our reception staff can make a good coffee, and they are people that live and breathe our neighbourhood and celebrate what's on the outside and provide that link to a guest that's new in town to where do they want to go out at night and curate an itinerary for people that are heading out into our neighbourhood and relate to them as individuals and provide them with a unique experience. We don't do room service in our hotel either. Rather than that, we have our hotel pantry in our mezzanine living area, which has an honour bar where guests can come down, grab a drink, grab a little bite to eat, and we have our restaurant and wine bar, which we deliberately separated. It's within our footprint of the hotel, but quite deliberately created a separate space. We didn't want to have, in inverted commas, a hotel restaurant. We wanted a hotel with F&B, but F&B that celebrated its own identity and actually sat in the neighbourhood on its own 2 feet. So Alex is a small 74-room hotel. We opened in May of this year, so we've been going for 5 months now. And I think in Perth there's been a great demand, and we've been able to pick up on those independent-minded travellers that are looking for something different, and we've been able to connect and celebrate some of these worldwide trends that Rob particularly showed us through Concrete and what they're doing, and the affordable luxury where people are looking for actually a hotel stay that celebrates its location, but you're able to be an independent traveller that's not cocooned and being able to be part of a neighbourhood. So I wanted to keep it brief, a little summary of our hotel, and introduce what we're doing in Perth, and happy to have a chat to anybody individually after this, and we'll keep the time ticking, Howard. Good.
Thanks, Miles. That was really good. It's an interesting dynamic. I mean, as I grew up in the hotel business, and this sort of dynamic now going on between the boutique, if I dare use the word, and the big branded sort of business, and what's happening in between. It's pretty exciting times. Look, we've got a treat again for you now in that same sort of space, continuing along those lines. James Wilkinson, whom many of you know, is going to have a chat with Josh Fleur. And I just asked them both to come up on stage now while I introduce you both. James, and I should mention HM Magazine that James is associated with, along with other parts of the Intermedia Group, also helping with this conference today. James, I've seen him in action many times. He's a professional journalist. He's got lots of awards. As I say, he's editor-in-chief of the HM Magazine, runs a great event every year, HM Awards at the Sydney Town Hall, with 600 people. It was fantastic again this year. He's been a guest on Channel 7's morning show. He's a travel writer in different magazines. He's been given awards by Marriott, Josh. Maybe you didn't know that, since you've partly got that background, and sits on the International Advisory Board for Blue Mountains International Hotel School. James is going to be talking to Josh Fleur. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Morgan's Hotel Group that many of you would be familiar with. He's got a fantastic CV. I was reading it before, Josh. You know, who haven't you worked with? Edition, he's Senior Director of Operations for Marriott's Edition, that many of you would be familiar with. He was VP of Operations, SBE Hotel Group in LA, where he was responsible for the opening of the first SLS hotel, which Starwood manages now as a part of their luxury collection. And so it goes on. He's a graduate from Cornell with a Bachelor of Science, and also got an MBA from Leonard N. Stern School of Business at New York University. Now, Josh, when I was doing my search on the internet, I came up with the words juicy bun extraordinaire. Can you explain that?
Where did you find that?
Could you explain that to everybody, please?
That's funny because it actually extended to some of my time here in Australia. When I was in grad school, there's a restaurant in New York called Joe's Shanghai, which is the Xiaolong Bao, which are the juicy soup dumplings that Din Tai Fung serves here out of Singapore and out of Taiwan. And so we used to go there. We had no money. Right? We're in grad school. We had get these $5 8-bun trays, and that's what we used to live off of when we were in grad school. So I've now been to every Juicy Bun place that I can find in any place I've ever lived or traveled to, and I can still say with great conviction that Joe Shanghai, this little hole in the wall in Chinatown in New York City, is still the best Juicy Bun experience. If anybody wants to ever go there, you can email me and I'll help you get in. You sit with a bunch of strangers and you eat your Juicy Buns and you get all messy. I inevitably leave with a messy shirt, just because that's the way it works. It splashes all over, and they're amazing. Little Juicy Buns of joy, if you will. So that's my Juicy Bun extraordinary experience. Where did you find that, by the way?
Oh, you can't hide.
No, I know, that's true. You can't. You got to be careful these days.
Now we were going to have a bit of an overview, Josh, about Morgan's and a bit about your history. You've worked for almost every great boutique hotel company. We've talked about a few of those today already, with Edition and W Hotels and SBE, obviously, and Morgan's. And interesting that you've worked through the other businesses and ended up at Morgan's, which was the company really that when Ian Schrager created it, kind of found this whole category so long ago. And obviously some of those hotels that were from that era are in your portfolio still. So obviously you love this space, don't you?
I do, yeah. It was out of grad school, I had the opportunity to work for W. We were opening W Times Square at the time, so I got kind of looped back into the hotel business after having been out of it for a bit in business school, and really caught the bug of the boutique side in W. And as growing up in New York City and around New York City with the boutique business taking off, and that whole word, I know we've bantered about a bit this morning. Boutique got its start because Steve Rebell, when they opened Morgan's on Madison Avenue in 1984, was asked the following morning after the opening, why, what's special about Morgan's? He said, well, if you look at Hilton and Marriott, the big boxes, and liken them to a large department store over in Times Square and on 6th Avenue, think about Morgan's as the retail boutiques that line Madison Avenue, and that's what Morgan's is all about. And so that's how the term was coined. And when you were growing up around that and listening to this on the news and you were a young hotel kid, that's what you wanted to do. And so I'd always chased Morgan's. It's just so lucky, through whatever, it was certainly not a plan to end up at Morgan's specifically, but somehow the path, led me full round circle to end up at Morgan's.
Interesting in terms of what Morgan's are doing now, and we've got some slides coming up soon, but one of their new hotels, or the newest hotel I should say, Mondrian London at Sea Containers, is almost probably the best property that you've ever had in that group. It's been top 10 hotels in the world by several different publications. Only topped in London actually by the Ham Yard Hotel. In fact, yours comes up above Shangri-La quite often now. An amazing property. Is that kind of that really going away from the whole party scene of Mondrian's in Los Angeles and obviously in South Beach, and you're really moving now into more of a sophisticated kind of market with a little bit of that party atmosphere to a degree?
Yeah, I think there's a blend, and it has to be about the location in which the hotel lives. You've got to be authentic and original, and we are the original. That's one of the mantras we go by as a company. And so when we look at development and we look at a neighborhood, we try to make sure that we embody some of that neighborhood. So in LA, when you're on Sunset Strip, having a party hotel and a pool scene and a DJ pumping music at a random Sunday afternoon pool party is appropriate. We still have to cater to our business clientele and to some of the other needs that other travelers have, but you really let the location dictate a lot of that. And Sea Containers, because it was on the other side of the river, it's a little bit removed, it's a little grittier of a location, at least today. We wanted to bring it up a little bit. We also took a very industrial area, an industrial building for that matter, and tried to bring some sophistication to it. Plus, there's a lot of those. We already had 2 hotels in the market, so we wanted to have a broad offering. So there were a lot of reasons that drove the design around Mondrian London by Tom Dixon and by the ownership group and by our design team, which was a collaborative effort. But I guess it's a very long answer to saying we need to toe the line here. We got to have a lively scene. You've got to be catering to the neighborhood. We talked about that or heard about that this morning a lot as well. If you don't have a connection to the neighborhood or to the community, you fail. When you've got restaurants and food and beverage and nightlife that are so critical to your business, you have to connect to those people. You cannot survive on the 300 bedrooms above you. And so, our whole concept of being sophisticated and yet be a party hotel and have a vibe and yet be a little bit more luxury, it's a tough line to walk, and it's all about the people we've chosen to help dictate or deliver that service that allow us to play that game. So I know that's a kind of a long answer to your question, but we still want to be exciting and fun and move it up to the sophistication a little bit as a brand.
I might see if we can put those slides on that we had from.
So that's the
Josh's
video. It's not
presentation.
let's go to the video, not the loop, which is starts with Mondrian. Yeah, that exactly. So that's Sea Containers. This is just going to roll through. It's probably faster than I can speak to it, but that's the lobby. It's all about a transatlantic journey. The idea here was that you've got this building which was called Sea Containers. It was originally a container ship house office space where the shipping company worked out of, built in 1971, interestingly enough, originally as a hotel, and was converted to an office space, and then obviously we took it back with the ownership group and converted it back to a hotel. So we have this story, this love affair between the United States and between Britain around transatlantic journey. So you'll see a lot of nautical references. This is the spa. It's the story between those two countries that make it so interesting. And in the guest rooms, there's homages to the United States in some rooms and to the Union Jack in other rooms. And so you've got this kind of playful experience back and forth. Tom Dixon design, very sophisticated, simplistic, small rooms. This room, obviously, you can tell it's not very wide. There are much longer keys.
Is this your most art? I mean, you're looking at the images that come up here, and obviously, just a beautiful design. You've got a really good mix here of signature
pieces.
This
is on the Clift, by the way. Now we're moving to Clift, so we'll just let it run.
In San Francisco.
Yep.
And a lot of these hotels, I mean, the big thing is it's statement pieces of furniture, isn't it? It's statement objects. It's unique artworks. And the London one, I think, has just got this blend of almost all the properties coming together to form the most perfect style of design, really.
Yeah, it is. And when Philippe Starck and when Ian Schrager were designing the hotels, their whole concept was to buck the status quo. So it wasn't about patterned carpets and patterned bedspreads. It was about feeling like you were in someone's home. And so too was the furniture. So we've got, interestingly enough, I got an email this morning. Right? We all know as operators we're going to wake up to a bunch of emails that are about problems. You just don't know how you're going to solve them. You don't know what those problems are yet until you read the email. So this morning I got a problem. The dolly table in the Clift's lobby was broken this weekend. It's a Salvador Dali table, so it's worth thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. And yet that was in our lobby of the hotel. So I got to figure out now how I'm going to replace it or what I'm going to replace it with. But the point is that we took these signature pieces because they really made the hotel experience not a hotel experience. It was all about being in this residential or in this apartment feel or your own home. And I think what we've done at Sea Containers, to bring your question home, is we've gone less signature hero pieces like that and much more practical, functional pieces, but still allowing us to impart a significant character on the design that that we're famous for, that we're known for.
Obviously, having Schrager and Starck involved in the design of many of the hotels, and we were chatting about this last night. Is it frustrating to a degree that you're seeing other hotels pop up around America with obviously that Starck's doing that look identical to some of your hotels?
Sure.
It looks like it's sort of those elements are being taken to all these different brands now. They all started at your brand primarily.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely frustrating. There are, I know I'm in a room of designer or design-focused people, so I'll be careful here for a second. But at the end of the day, the hospitality business is about providing an experience. And the design is critical in terms of its ability to draw press in and to draw people in the first time and to make them excited about a space and to do something really compelling from an architecture and interior design standpoint. But at the end of the day, what brings people back are the experiences they get in those hotels, and those are delivered through people. So while there are lots of people who are trying to do the next compelling, interesting design work, which always needs to happen, we've been able to kind of hold the market by providing these experiences. And the way we do that is through the hiring of people. So I think that if we continue to focus on the training and the resourcing and the hiring of our people in a really proactive way, we'll be able to maintain a competitive edge here. But yes, the answer is yes. I mean, you got Starck going out and designing for SLS, which I was a part of, and Ian now designing with the likes of Jabu Puschelberg and Gattalini and some of these other very world-renowned architecture firms to do additions. It's frustrating because the design is beautiful, and it's hard to compete with design alone when it's becoming much more readily available. It's not cheap; it's certainly a commitment, but it's more readily available, and it's harder to deal with just design alone.
And looking at all the properties that we're going through now, obviously, it's one thing to have them in images, but in person, the hotels are holding up really well. I mean, how much you've got several different owners of the hotels, obviously, in your business, and how much emphasis do you guys put on to making sure they're constantly putting capex into the hotels, staying at the quality of what they are?
It's an ongoing discussion. We certainly have some owners who are much more capital averse, I guess, and they're very focused on the bottom line. They don't want to displace revenue by taking them out for renovation time. But we have others who are very proactive on it. The owners for Mondrian LA, as an example, are getting ready for a 2016 renovation of that property, which it's in sore need of. It's actually appropriately on the screen now.
Well, that's never this empty.
No, it's never that empty.
People walking through with drinks and partying by the pool.
But even that space right now looks a little different because we have evolved it over time. There's a new restaurateur in there who's put some capital in to change some things to lease space. But we have other owners who just don't want to put any more money in because either the returns aren't where they expected them to be when they purchased the hotels, and in certain instances, some of those hotels were purchased at the height of the market, and the returns just aren't there. So they're not, even though they have their FF&E reserves or their capital reserves to do this, and they're parts of large REITs who have some dry powder to burn, they're not willing to put more money until they see some of the returns. It's this kind of circular argument where if you don't put capital in, you're not going to be able to raise rates, but if you can't raise rates, they're not willing to put capital in, so it's this circular discussion, and unless you've got a very sophisticated owner who really gets that whole marriage and that equation, it's a conversation for sure. We have other owners who are just, whatever you need, just buy it, let's just do it.
So do you know kind of what you're going to do yet with Mondrian Los Angeles? I mean, this is kind of, this design has sort of been its signature for some time, hasn't it? With the
this is its second iteration. The first iteration was a Stark Schrager design. This is a Benjamin Noriega. Now we're on Hudson, but what you saw before was Benjamin Noriega design. So this will be its third redo. We're in the selection process right now. We're looking at designers. We've written briefs and are really getting ready to launch into that process so that we can take it out just after the award season, which in LA is critical, and that's January, February. And once those award seasons are over, it has a little bit of a lull, and that's when we'll do the renovation next year so that we can actually hit the stride.
So give us a bit of an insight to with the processes in terms of, obviously your brand standards are pretty high here, and in terms of expectations are pretty high from a brand point of view from you. When you get an owner, like you've got some hotels in the Middle East coming up at the moment, when you go from scratch right through to the hotel opening, how does the design process work with Morgans? How involved are you guys? How much freedom do you give the owners? And especially when you are putting with the Mondrian brand into the Middle East, it's just obviously it's very important to make sure that hotel in Dubai is going to be exceptional.
Yeah, it's become a much more collaborative process just out of need, or out of the changing times, the evolution of the way the ownership group looks at developing an asset or a project. I mean, they are wildly more involved, and I think in some regards that's a good thing, than they ever have been in the past. So there's a big conversation about it. What we typically do is we go out, select 3 or 4 potential designers that we think would be ideal for the project, either based on the location that the hotel's in and there's some sort of a connection to that location with the designer, or because they've done another project before that we love, or any other number of drivers. We present that to the ownership group, and then they, together with us, help make a final selection, and then we're off to the races. The actual design process is also a collaborative effort where the interior designer, is basically edited by Morgans with ownership's input. So Morgans will take the design. It's usually an editing down design, as an editing down exercise whereby we'll take things out. Right? Ian was always about being as minimalist as possible without completely being boring, for lack of a better word, and still having a compelling, interesting design, but he didn't want to overdo it. And if you look at Edition and how he's evolved over time, you can certainly see that. Editions are much more sophisticated, but they're also very minimalist and simple. And so our exercise with the designers is typically tell us what you want, and then we'll edit it down, and then we present it to ownership. We never present a design to ownership. I shouldn't say never, because sometimes there's a back door, but we rarely present design to an ownership group before having seen it ourselves, because we want to make sure we have the opportunity to edit it. We don't want the owner to get excited about a direction that either doesn't work practically, or is too expensive, or any other number of things without having looked at it ourselves first. So we'll typically do that, and then we'll present it to them.
It's interesting looking at these photos. I mean, you could be forgiven for thinking that you are looking at Edition hotels, funnily enough, when you look through it, and obviously some of those trademarks from Schrager. But I mean, how do you see that mix? I mean, obviously outside Morgans, who else is doing it well in the space, do you think?
I mean, obviously Ian, the father of all this, is still doing it very well. Having worked with him at Edition, he's a master at this. He just has the ability, and his team are very talented people, and they just can pick the trend. So we talked a little bit last night about how Leo Claire and some of the assets that he's working on, how he finds these diamonds in a rough in these areas that are regentrifying as it happens. And Ian was always a master of that. And so he used the architecture. And New York, if you look at Edition, in the clock tower. It's in this beautiful old building, and he's taken this phenomenal architecture and just made it a fantastic design-wise hotel. So he still does it really well. I think, to some extent, Andaz is doing it really well. I think we talked about that last night. I think they've got some interesting things going on. We also talked about SLS. Now there's a place in my heart for SLS. So I think that the first SLS was done in a kind of a different way than what the subsequent properties in Miami and in Vegas look like. But the LA property, when it was born in 2010, was done well. It was very interesting, and I think it was designed, the guest rooms in particular, are very functional, and yet they're beautiful little jewel boxes of a guest room.
Do you see much potential from One Hotels with Barry Sterling? Do you think he's going to give this segment a good shake-up?
I do. I think he's, obviously in the creation of W, when I was with them, and I was a little peon at the time, but it was fun to watch that process coming into the hotel at 9 or 10 strong, and now looking at the portfolio of 40 or 45, and he having started that, I think he learned a lot of things with Starwood, and they were able to scale very quickly. He may have a different challenge going forward now because he doesn't have the kind of infrastructure behind him with One or with Baccarat to do that same kind of global growth quickly. But when you're selling Baccarat at $2 million a key, after it's developed, I'm not sure he needs that infrastructure. He's got some opportunities open to him just by virtue.
Because his New York hotel should be open quite soon, or is it just opened?
Which one? Baccarat?
The One hotel?
One is just opened, yeah.
Now, if you look at New York's upcoming development pool, there's 60, 70, 80 hotels for Greater New York at the moment, and there's probably 30 or 40 unbranded properties. That market's really firing at the moment, isn't it?
It is. It's a little scary for us as an industry, and because we've got some global exposure in a couple of major markets, and 9 of our hotels are in 3 places, Miami, New York, and London. So if there's macroeconomic conditions or microeconomic conditions for those particular markets, we feel a lot more pain. So when you look at New York and the supply growth, and Miami has a similar thing going on, although not at the same level, it's a little scary. You also have these disruptors coming into the market, the likes of the Airbnbs of the world, and some other opportunities or alternatives for guests or travelers, because some of them aren't your typical guests, to take advantage of. And I think that when you add that to the traditional hotel supply coming into New York and Miami, we've got to look at the business a little differently in the coming years.
Are you looking at this market for any potential properties, and where would you put one?
We're looking at something in Japan. Right now, we've got an LOI out, and we're negotiating an HMA right now in Tokyo. I would love to do something down in Australia and New Zealand. I think it's a phenomenal market for us, and we've got now with Delano, that's what you're looking at here, the resort component where we could do it in a place like here, like Sydney, where you have this kind of blend between the metropolis or the metropolitan urban environment and a beach type place where it would work well. And we've always struggled a little with Delano about how to grow it, because Miami and South Beach are so associated with the water. To drop a Delano in the middle of an urban environment without that element is tough. So this market lends that very well. Most of your big cities would be perfect opportunities for us to do it, a 5-star type Delano, where we can maintain some of the brand integrity around the ocean.
And you've obviously got some almost these are like urban resorts, really, aren't they? In terms of these are on the beach in Miami.
There's a shore club.
So, and actually almost one of your forgotten properties, actually. You've got 3 in Miami. 3 in Miami?
Yeah, we have Shore Club, Delano, and Mondrian over on the Intracoastal Waterway side.
An interesting theme that we've obviously seen with all these is the focus on food and beverage last night. Those who came to the old Claire dinner that we had with Peng, he specialises obviously in having amazing F&B. He's got 3 chefs in there, all Michelin-starred chefs going in to his hotel at one time. And it's about sort of bringing the locals in. That's obviously one of the most important things for your company, isn't it? Having the locals coming, eating and drinking, and then even having staycations in your hotels.
Yeah, 100%. There's this kind of mantra we go by where we say, where are you staying? If a friend is calling a friend to come to New York, let's say, and they say, where should I stay? You should stay at Royalton. Well, okay, so they stay at Royalton, and the friend gets here, and he calls his friend and says, okay, I'm here. Where are we going to dinner tonight? We're going to your hotel. It's the best place to go in the city. And so that is the kind of the story around what Ian created when he tried to create these hotels that were full circle. You wanted to stay there if you were from out of town. You wanted to party or drink or eat there if you were from in town. And to become the fabric of the part of the community was critical in terms of its success. When you look at a hotel like Morgan's, which is 114 rooms, and it had Asia de Cuba at the time when it opened, which turned out to be a $10, $12 million restaurant, you weren't filling that restaurant with the 114 people that were sleeping above you. You had to connect with the local community in a very big way in order to be successful. And so that has always been a driving force and factor behind how we create food and beverage, how we market food and beverage, who we market it to, and obviously with the kind of progression of the social media, that strategy is critical. We've got to be front and center to the local community. We can't be contrived. And you know, if you're too in their face, you can't say I want to be cool and all of a sudden be cool. Right? It doesn't work like that. So you got to kind of do it in a backwards way by creating content that people locally can respond to, or even travelers, tourists who come in can find through a back door, so it doesn't look like you're standing up and waving your arms and saying, hey, I'm cool, I'm fun, come have dinner with me. It has to be kind of this it's a little smoke and mirror-y, but you got to connect with the local community in order to bring you street cred.
And when it comes to, obviously, on the design levels on that, anything you're really loving at the moment? I mean, what would you like to do? I mean, we're looking at the LA property again here, and what kind of influences are you kind of looking at, without giving too much away, but I mean, is there anything that's really standing out right now that is something going forward with Morgans you really want to try and infuse in the business?
Yeah, I mean, I think that because we were the original, if you will, Ian had a luxury at the time, and the company had a luxury at the time, for a long time, probably for 15 years, where it was really about interesting design, but it was lacking in functionality. You had travelers, no outlets, you couldn't find an outlet to plug in your phone or your hair dryer, mirrors were in the wrong place, you couldn't shave, the lighting was too low. So there were some functional things that were really problematic. So what we're doing now is trying to span the gap between staying interesting, compelling, and relevant from a design perspective, but still being functional. People who stay with you still need to shave in the morning, and they still need to put their makeup on, and they still need to dry their hair, and they need to charge their devices, right? So what are we doing now? Simple things from a design standpoint that allow that to still happen. So it's about putting USB, it's simple, right? USB ports, so you don't have to deal with converters, right? We all do this now, but until recently that was a luxury. So what we're doing when we do design briefs for designers now is, okay, the design is critical. We have to be very careful about what we're designing, but I also want to make sure it's functional. What I'll do when I go into a model room these days, as a senior member of this company, I'll go in with my suitcase, and I will bang around in the suitcase, and as if I'm checking into the room. I'll go sit on the toilet, and I'll look what's in front of me when you sit on the toilet. Because when you're standing and you walk through a bathroom, if you don't sit on the toilet and see where the toilet paper is and see what's ahead of you as you're sitting there doing your thing, as a guest, you want to know before you build it that that's an appropriate representation of what you're trying to do. So a lot of the decisions we're making now are around being practical and making sure that the design briefs include those steps so that we don't miss certain things. Because there's nothing more frustrating than spending $200 million on building a hotel and missing something simple as an outlet.
What are some of your pet hates at the moment in other hotels around the world, without naming any names? Is there any, obviously, small bathrooms, and it's probably one of the worst things for a lot of travelers, but what's any little pet hates? That
I think what I give the design guys every time we do this is there are three main components for me that make a hotel stay. It's the bed experience, right? You got to have a good bed. When you look at this business, it's about a bed and a shower, right? Every hotel in the world has a bed and a shower. The question is, how great is the bed and how good is the shower? And how much can you get as a premium by offering an experience to those guests, right? Because whether you're at a Courtyard or whether you're at a Shangri-La, you've got a bed and a shower. So the bed and the shower are critical for me. The second thing is technology. So the TV had better be a phenomenal HD signal, and I don't want to wait 30 seconds for the TV to turn on and readjust and find the channel it's supposed to be on. I don't need 42 hotel channels to tell me about the spa and the pool and what's available around the city. I just want TV. And I want to be able to get to Al Jazeera or to CNN or Bloomberg or whatever it is I want to watch in 32 seconds or less. Like I don't want to deal with all that drama. So that's two. And then three is my Wi-Fi, right? I got to have really good, quick Wi-Fi. If you miss on those things, you're screwed, really, because the design can be phenomenal and the bed or the food and beverage can be good, and you can get a great glass of wine. But if you miss on those pieces, and that's really simplifying this business, right? Three basic components of the business to me that if you miss it, you're in trouble. So those are the things that really get under my skin. If I walk into a hotel and I can't get the TV on quickly and can't get on the internet and very fast, and I can't have a good night's sleep, then I'm missing, or a shower, good night's sleep and a shower, then I'm missing.
Something else you have in a lot of your hotels is when the location of the desk in the rooms. Near the window, looking out over the window. There's nothing worse than looking at the door, is there?
Or at the wall, right? Either or. So we try to put the desks in as inspirational a place as possible, right? We are a hotel for creators. We talk about that in some of our marketing materials, and you know, if you look historically at the company, it was about artists and musicians, and not always and not forever, but fashion was a big part of who we were as well. And so that creative juice environment is what we like to create, no pun intended. And so we do that by placing the desks near windows and by creating public spaces where people can gather and communicate and collaborate and drink and have fun. It's interesting, I think some of our future projects will involve intentional public spaces that are, you're not co-working, so to speak, but kind of, right? You're partnering with some of the best in that business, whether they be the WeWorks or the Neue Houses of the world. There will be a convergence of those things, I'm sure, as we go down the line here.
I mean, we're just looking at sea containers then, and again, no, we're off. Where's the Dali desk is around here somewhere, isn't it?
No, I didn't have a picture. It weighs 1,000 pounds, the thing does, and it tipped over. Some drunk guy fell on it last night.
Oh, no. Well, I hope you had insurance.
Yeah.
But the sea containers property we just saw before, how much interest has that created for you as a company to sign new projects? And also, I mean, not just on the back of, obviously, the great service, the location, but I mean, that design is really sort of, like we said before, it's what you're all about, but you must be getting some significant interest off the back of that.
Yeah, we are. And, you know, the company, for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of kind of interesting conversations around the company in general right now, which is combating this great news on Mondrian London's launch. We're having to deal with some of the potential, I don't want to call it risk, but there's people who are, you know, waiting to see what happens with our strategic process. I don't know if you guys saw the news this morning, but it looks like Starwood might be at the end of theirs. But we are in a similar process where we're looking at options, and because of that, there have been less interest in developing right now until we see what happens for the future of the company. That being said, Mondrian London has been a catalyst, and since that opened, we signed a couple new deals in Dubai. On the back of that, because people were there. A lot of that market goes to London to look for what's coming next, and they're brand collectors in that market, and in the Middle East, and they loved what they saw at Mondrian, and we've signed 2 full deals since then. We had one already, but we've signed 2 since then. And the project in Japan, we actually presented in London with the purposes of showing them what the next generation of Mondrian and Morgans looked like, with the hopes that would be an added nudge to get them to sign with us, and it worked. So, you know,
yeah, there's a few owners in this room, so you might have a few conversations afterwards.
We'd love to.
Looking at these images. Before we go to the break, any quick questions for Josh? Josh will be here, so if you've got any questions, feel free to grab them. I think.
Yeah. No, I'm here all the time. We have this 4:30 session where we'll be up here as well.
Yeah, great. So, any quick questions before we go to the break for Josh? No, and I think that's it.
All right,
mate, thank you for your time, and like we said, you'll be here, so happy to talk about expanding Morgans throughout Australia, then I'm sure.
I would love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. James, that was really good. Is Dan Morahan in the room from Prototype? No? Marnie? Brett? We're going to lunch. Prototype is sponsoring the lunch. They're not an exhibitor here today, but they are at the forefront of commercial furniture manufacturing and supply for hospitality and accommodation, corporate and government institutional markets. Prototype Commercial Furniture sits within the Morton Group, which is headed up by Australia's leading business and special event providers, Morton Hire. So they are taking us all to lunch. I would ask that you please come back on time, which is... Can somebody tell me when the next session is? 1:45. So please try to come back on time. It's like herding cats, you guys, but help me here. See you at 1:45. Enjoy your lunch. Thank you.